Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Transformation to Expansion with your host, LaJoie Bradley, your favorite never-aging human being. Okay, because you know this face is gonna stay like this forever without plastic surgery. Today we're gonna recap 3 past episodes. The first one is gonna be the one with Marie Diamond, the Fengshui master, where she teaches us like the 3 most basic tricks to attract more money into our lives through simply reorganizing our space. And I'm gonna talk to y'all a little bit about how I was able to do this and the magic that happened as soon as I feng shuied my space. And I'm not even trying to like be on some like, oh, you know, she was a guest, I need to support her. This is the truth. This is truly what had happened, okay, as soon as I feng shuied my space. So we're gonna get into that. We're also gonna talk about the episode where I talked about astrocartography and kind of the easy ways to read your own astrocartography chart and what it is, right? Astrocartography, for those of y'all who don't know, is using your astrology to figure out where in the world you can make the most money, where in the world you're gonna feel an abundance of love, where in the world you're gonna get the most luck, okay? Everybody has different areas around the world that are ideal for them, for different situations that they want to experience in their life. There's even another location that will tell you what's going to be the best for you to get a promotion at work or build your network even more, right? The third thing we're going to talk about is the live stream episode with our special surprise guest, okay? So this is going to be an amazing episode, amazing recap episode. So y'all make sure to stay tuned, especially for those of y'all who don't have the time. If you don't have the time to listen into these episodes fully, this is your opportunity to at least get some gems, okay? For y'all to really tap into your transformation. So let's get into the show. So the first episode that I wanted to talk about is the Marie Diamond episode. She is a feng shui master. And in that episode, she talks about how her near-death experience as a teenager kind of brought her into the space of spirituality and had her understand that there is something more and that the afterlife does exist, but actually having kind of a more grounded perspective on what the afterlife is, what it looks like, what the experience is. And it was so interesting because before this episode, before I had her on the show, I had never known this about her. I knew she was a feng shui master. I loved the app that she created that is free for anybody to use to help you feng shui your space and know your success colors, know your success direction, how to really feng shui your home for everything that you want to attract more in your life passively. And y'all know I'm a big advocate for passive manifestation. I absolutely love passive manifestation because, well, it's passive. So you don't have to really do that much extra work, right? But what I loved about this interview is that, you know, it was stuff that I didn't know of her before. And it was so interesting when she told me that she had this near-death experience as a teenager. It really opened my eyes to the many different ways that we all, you know, go on our path to really, you know, manifest the reality that we desire and really live in our purpose, right? So she talked a little bit about that, about her near-death experience, what it was, and what it wasn't also. And she also talked about her kind of segue into being a feng shui master, which was such an interesting story too, because she talks about how, you know, she had this dream of practicing with a master. And she said normally when people, you know, practice with this master, they have to get on this wait list and it takes about, you know, 10 years. But because she had this dream where she was talking to him, he quickened the process and he was like, oh no, she can work with me now. And so, you know, we definitely talked, you know, a little bit about past lives also, because this is also a past life connection, right? A lot of these masters, you know, feng shui, whether it's feng shui, meditation, qigong, tai chi, kung fu, any of the masters, right? And I'm talking masters, like decades of the work that they do, decades focused on that one modality. Masters, they often have a natural, not all of them, I'm gonna say this, but most of them, or at least the ones that I've met who are true masters, again, we're talking decades of experience. They know this past life stuff. They know when there's a past life connection. They know how to interpret past life connections also. So I'm sure that there was some kind of past life connection between Marie and her master, okay? So anyway, this kind of empowered her to step into her mission, which was to enlighten millions of people. And the way that she is enlightening millions of people is through Feng Shui. So we also talk about the TV show that she has where she talks about how to Feng Shui your life, okay? And what I really loved about this conversation with her is we don't just talk about, you know, the spiritual aspects of Feng Shui, but we actually talk about the scientific aspects too. We start to talk about brain waves and how, you know, when we tap into different brain waves, it allows us to attract more into our lives, right? Specifically, she talks about the alpha brain wave, and she talks about how to decorate your home so that you bring in more of that alpha brainwave subconsciously, passively, right? Again, without really taking any action besides rearranging your home. One of the simplest examples that she gives is simply, you know, making sure that the doorway is clear always, okay? From the door to the opposite wall, whatever wall is facing your door, it needs to be clear. She talks about the importance of that because when it's blocked, that means you're blocking flow coming into your home, coming into your space, okay? If you work at an office or you work at a cubicle, make sure your door is, if you have your own office, make sure your door is open to invite flow into your office, to invite not just flow of people, but if you want more money, if you want a bonus, if you want more work, leaving that door open is going to allow more flow into your space, okay? Okay, so that was a little bit of what we talked about. And we also talked about the law of attraction and how it has 3 parts. Okay, I'm going to give y'all the 3 parts. But then for anything else, I want y'all to go and check out that episode if you really feel like you are interested in this topic. Okay, so we talked about how the law of attraction has 3 parts. Okay, the spiritual part, the human part, and the environmental part. 3 parts to this. Okay. So we talk about the human part, and this is kind of on that conscious level, right? Doing your affirmations, doing them daily, doing them, you know, during a time of the day where it's really going to affect your mind, affect your mindset, okay? Then we also talk about the environmental factors. Is your space clean and clear? Is it feng shui to allow more flow into your life, right? And then we also talk about the spiritual aspects, okay? Are you believing that the transformation will happen? Are you, you know, tapping into your subconscious or your super mind to really attract those things into your life, okay? So we also talked about the 3 laws of attraction in this episode. We also talked a little bit about, for those of y'all with kids, how to really decorate a kid's room to be productive for the things that they're supposed to be doing in that room. So for example, she talks about how, you know, if you have all of the toys out in a kid's room and you have a slide and a jungle gym in their room, the kid is never going to want to sleep. They're always going to want to play. So she talks about the importance of separating the 2. You can have toys in the kid's room, right? Especially if you don't want it in the living room. I get it. But before that kid goes to bed, all of the toys need to be put away. That space needs to be clean and clear to empower the kid to naturally and happily go to sleep, okay? And stay asleep also. In terms of having like a gym or a slide in the kid's room, she definitely didn't recommend that. If that is the case, then just find ways of, like, she talks about finding ways of hiding that, right? So that there is a separation in the kid's mind between sleeping time and playing time, okay? Okay. Get started on your wellness journey today. Whether you are starting your wellness journey, in the middle of it, or finishing it, this library will help you so courses on how to jumpstart your wellness. And really, it has so much more than that. It has full guides on how to quantum leap, full guides on how to manifest, and even my personal favorite, coloring books. Yes, and I'm talking unique coloring books. Y'all already know who you're dealing with, okay? We have baobab coloring books, cactus plant coloring books, and so much more. And it's completely free. So please make sure to check it out, especially if you're on your wellness journey, or if you know a friend who is on the wellness journey and wants some free resources, please let them know about the wellness library, okay? The link is in the show notes below. I love y'all so much. Let's get back to the show. Oh, and she also talks about her app. So her app, I really, really, really recommend that y'all get that as soon as possible. I've been working with that app for a couple of months, maybe even a year at this point. Close to a year. We're getting close to a year. And you know, that app, it has so many tools in the app. My favorite part is the success direction. So on the app, she has a compass where it tells you your success direction, your wisdom direction, and your health direction. And I think one more direction that I'm kind of forgetting at this point. But those are the three main ones that I pay attention to. What I love about it is, especially as somebody who travels a lot, all I need to do is turn on the app and use the compass to set up my space. And I love this because, again, I travel a lot. So it doesn't matter if I'm going to Bali or Thailand or the States or Mexico. I can just turn on the app, use the app to figure out where my success direction is, where my wisdom direction is, where my health direction is, depending on what I'm working on, right? And the other thing I love about the app is that she also tells you your colors. So through the app, I was able, which this is something I didn't even know until she came onto the show, but on the app, you can also figure out your success colors, okay? So like mine is like a green, blue, which also happens to be my favorite color. But on the app, it shows you your success colors, your health colors, right? So depending on what you want to shift in your life, you can really use this app to really optimize that shift and make it as efficient, as quick, as easy as possible, which I really absolutely love. So if anything, you need to download this app. I'm telling y'all, it is such an amazing app. I love it. And it's going to bring you so much success and abundance. So please check out the app, okay? So the next episode I want to talk about is the live stream with Jackie Levine, okay? So in that live stream, we talked about the miracle of using plant medicine. Specifically, we talk about her experience with mushrooms. Now, it wasn't just with mushrooms. It was also using moldavite, and she was using kratom. So there was a lot of stuff she was working with at the time. Even kratom. Kratom is a natural substance. It's not really anything that's going to get you, how do I want to say? It's not as strong as mushrooms, right? It's just to help you with creativity or to help you sleep or to help you, be energized and focused. It's literally just like, it's like taking lion's mane mushroom. It's like a supplement. But she was using this and using moldavite and, all of this stuff. And she had a very intense experience, which I will say right now, I do not recommend using all three and doing it the way that she did, because it was a lot. It was really intense. It was a lot for her. Luckily, she was like in a mental state to understand what she was going through in a way that I feel like a lot of people who do or have had experience with mushrooms or any plant medicine, they're not prepared for. But it seems like she was a little bit prepared for this experience. Like she didn't really freak out like I think a lot of people would have in her situation. So it was just very interesting talking to her about this. And, we talked about how when you go through an intensive mushroom experience, because there's different levels to it depending on how much you take, you're going to go through ego death. Whether or not you like it, whether or not your ego likes it. And this is the part that can be very painful for some people. And I think this is the part that I think Jackie did really good with letting go of. Or maybe she was prepped about this beforehand. I'm not really sure. But in the episode, we talk about how, she was going through this ego death. And this ego death didn't just bring her through her ego in the present moment. It also had her tap into the ego of her past lives and also the energy that she was carrying spiritually. And I don't want to say carrying, right? But the spiritual energy that she embodied, right? Because we all embody energies of different beings, different higher beings. And so when she was going through this experience, she also experienced the energy of Kuan Yin, which is a Chinese goddess. She's like the goddess of compassion and love. Anyway, so if you know, you know. If not, you guys can look into it, okay? So we talked about that. in the episode. And what was just very special about the episode was that, you know, we talked about her experience. And I think for anybody who's thinking about doing a mushroom trip or has done one in the past, especially an intensive one, I really want to encourage y'all to watch this episode because it's going to give you a lot of perspective on what you have also gone through in your experience or what you might possibly go through or what to prepare for. One of the smartest things I think she did in her mushroom trip was she had a trip buddy. And by trip buddy, let's clarify what this means real quick. Oh, my earring fell off at some point. Let's clarify what she meant by trip buddy. It was a person who was sober, who had done mushrooms before, but wasn't doing them with her. They were just there to kind of guide her and help her through the journey. That is a good trip buddy, okay? Don't, and depending on the level of the person, yes, sometimes, you know, the people who are helping you through a plant medicine journey, they also take the plant medicine. Usually these are shamans who have done this so many times that it doesn't have as much of an effect on them as it does a normal person, right? Does that make sense? So if you do have a trip buddy, if you do have somebody who is taking or going on the trip with you or guiding you through the trip, just make sure that they are, if they are taking the plant medicine with you, they're not as affected by it. So they're able to actually guide you through the experience like her friend was, or they don't take any at all. So again, they can help guide you through the experience, okay? You want a guide, not somebody who's going through it with you, because that's a lot. It's a lot. It's intense. And even sometimes one person, what could happen, I don't want to scare any of y'all, but what could happen is one person has an interesting trip and one person has a quote unquote bad trip. But at the end of the day, you need somebody who's going to be able to guide you. Okay, that's how we're gonna put it. So I think that was one of the smartest things that she talked about. She also had some other gems that we talked about in the episode to help people who are interested in working with mushrooms or healing through mushrooms or healing through plant medicine. So definitely make sure to check out that episode if it's something that resonates with you or that you've been thinking of. We also talk about moldavite. Oh my God. And I don't even think I really talked about my moldavite experience, but she talked about her experience, you know, using moldavite during this trip, which is something I definitely do not recommend. It's not for the faint of heart. This meteorite is so powerful, so strong. In the episode, you know, I talk about my experience, a little bit about my experience with moldavite. And I use a moldavite that was maybe this big, okay? This big, y'all. And I meditated with it. So the first thing you're supposed to do, right? We talked about this in the episode too, but the first thing you're supposed to do is talk to it. And in the episode, I talk about what specifically I said to my moldavite in order to make sure that my experience with this crystal was a gentle one, okay? And even though I said that, you know, I meditated with that crystal the first day for about 3 minutes. It wasn't anything. It wasn't 30 minutes, 3 minutes, y'all. And even after this 3 minutes, later that day, I had planned to go to this party. And I was so exhausted. Like, I was just tired. It wasn't anything emotional. I wasn't crying that day. I didn't even really exercise extra that day. I was just exhausted. I was really tired by the time it hit 5 o'clock. So I fell asleep. I was asleep that night, that evening. And so I talk about my experience with this crystal. And I was like, I never had a crystal like interact with me in this way. It was just so powerful. And so we talk about my experience with moldavite and also her experience with moldavite. And again, if y'all are interested, please check out that episode. We talk about moldavite a lot, okay? The third big topic we talked about was relationships. And, you know, it was a very interesting conversation because I think we have some similarities when it comes to relationships and some differences we talk about in this episode. Because one of our audience members asked her specifically about, you know, relationships in the modern time, how to navigate them. And, you know, her perspective was very much coming from somebody who is older and wiser. And my perspective was coming from somebody who, you know, had 30 years of life experience. So, I mean, like, you know, y'all take everything with a grain of salt, take what you want. But, you know, I talk about how, you know, especially with my generation, I think younger these days, there's such an opposition between men and women. especially when it comes to relationships. I think, you know, men are definitely more in their feminine than their masculine when it comes to relationships. And women are more in their masculine instead of their feminine when it comes to relationships. And a lot of this is due to music. A lot of this is due to popular culture. We're going to put that in quotes. And the lies that we've been fed about how to navigate relationships. And so we talk about, you know, I talk about my experience and my expectations when it comes to dating for a serious relationship, right? This is the key. And this is one of the things that we didn't really necessarily agree on. So one of the things that she, you know, Jackie talked about was, you know, she was like, don't hold expectations on relationships, period. Don't hold any expectations on them. Don't, you know, even if you are looking for a relationship when it comes to, you know, a lifelong partner or anything like that, she was like, don't hold any expectations on any relationships. Just experience it. Which I think, like I said, that's why I say, like, her opinion is definitely coming from wisdom that I just, unfortunately, maybe I haven't gained yet, or, you know, maybe I'm just here to experience something different from what she has experienced through her relationships, and that's totally okay, right? And that's the other thing that people need to realize. Everybody is here to experience something different. We don't all have to have the same experience when it comes to relationships, love, twin flames too. I've met with people, we had completely different twin flame experiences. Some people have twin flame experiences that last years. Some people have twin flame experiences that only last a month or a couple of weeks. Like, everybody is different. Some people don't even have twin flame experiences in this lifetime, right? So just keep that in mind, okay? But we talk about relationships. And so I talk about waiting for the right one. And she says, you know, yeah, you can do all of that work and stuff. You know, you can be celibate for a couple of years, focused on you. But I think in what she was talking about in that episode was that, you know, she just wants you to she said, just have fun. Like, don't wait for the right one. Just have fun and experience life, you know? And it was interesting because I've definitely heard mixed answers about this, especially when it comes to finding the right one, finding your soulmate, finding your right partner. I've heard mixed things. I'm gonna be honest, and from people even the same age or even older than Jackie. So that's what I'm saying. Everybody's here to experience something different. But I think she did have some wisdom when she talked about, you know, don't have any expectations on the relationships, which is, I have to admit, it was a little hard for me to hear this because I was just like, well, if I'm like, you know, dating somebody and I'm really interested and I can see us having a future together, I'm going to low-key expect them to be, you know,
This farm isn't just any farm. It grows for Juice Plus. Juice Plus is farm-to-capsule nutrition made from 30 different non-GMO fruits, vegetables, and berries. Harvested at peak goodness to make nutrient-rich plant powders in convenient capsules. Clinically proven for over 20 years to support your wellness. And makes it easy to help bridge the gap between what you should eat and do eat. Fruits and vegetables are always on the table with Juice Plus. Juice Plus. Goodness is our natural state.
How do I want to put this? Monogamous with me, at least at some, you know, how do I explain this? Yeah, at least when it comes to building trust with each other, I kind of would expect that. But again, her trick, her tip was to not have any expectations, not hold any expectations. And that's great, but yeah, and I guess that's just my opinion, and that's okay. Everybody has a different opinion, right? But for me, I think it's something that I'm willing to do for that other person. So I would expect them to kind of do the same for me. But like I said, to each their own. So, and if y'all don't agree with this, let me know. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you don't agree. Especially if you're one of my like older audience members, like, you know, what have you experienced through your relationships? Do you think it's important to wait? Do you think that waiting has any like weight to it? And I know it definitely depends on your mindset. It definitely depends on what you truly believe. But this was just an interesting conversation that came up during the episode. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the next one because y'all, I'm ready to move on to the next one. The next episode I'm gonna talk about in this recap episode is the astrocartography episode. Now, this episode, I talk about the easiest way to figure out your astrocartography. So like I said at the beginning of this episode, astrocartography is just using your astrology to figure out what locations around the world are going to be optimal for what you would like or what you desire or what you would like to experience. For example, one of my Jupiter lines runs through Rio. When I went to Brazil, okay, and when I went to, not Rio, when I went to Sao Paulo, which is close, a little close to Rio, I experienced so much luck in just a matter of a couple of days. So luck meeting people, luck meeting the right people who I wanted to collab with or who I wanted to work with, luck meeting people who brought me wisdom and guidance. And so, you know, I used astrocartography to determine what location I should go to. And in this episode, I talk about specifically, you know, I give you a key, a very easy key to figure out how to read your own astrocartography chart, okay? Because honestly, you know, we don't always have the time or even the money to go to an astrocartographer to read our chart. And honestly, I don't think it's completely necessary in order to look at the basics of your astrocartography chart, okay? If you want to get more into the detail of specifically what you want to experience, or specifically where are the most optimal places to experience, for example, luck, okay? Because when I went to Rio, it wasn't the most optimal place for me to experience luck. It was just one of the cities where I was to experience, or I could experience that, okay? But like I said, if you want to know the specific details of something, I definitely recommend to go to an astrocartographer. And especially if you want to learn more about how these crosses interact with each other, go to an astrocartographer, okay? But to know the basics of how to read your own astrocartography chart, which you can get online for free, just check out this episode, okay? I go into the basics. And again, it's just scratching the surface. Like, I'm not going to front with y'all. It's not about going into the depths of astrocartography. It's not about, oh, okay, specifically, what are you going to experience if you go to this one specific place? No, it's about, oh, I want to experience being in an abundance of love. Okay, let me look at my Venus line. But specifically, I want to learn about being in an abundance of love when I work with people or when I'm surrounded by people. Let me look at that specific Venus line versus I want to experience, you know, an abundance of love by going inward. That's going to be a different Venus line. Okay. So I talk about this in this episode, and I really encourage y'all to do this because, especially for those of y'all who are looking to travel, okay, I really want to encourage y'all to look at your astrocartography because it can help you save a lot of headache and heartache. I'm telling y'all now, because also on the lines, you can see where you are going to experience certain energies, where you are going to experience certain situations, okay? And I'm going to tell you right now, for some situations, I wish I knew my astrocartography so I could figure out, or at least better prepare for what I was to experience at some of those locations. For example, you know, because this is something I've talked about a lot, especially when I talk about traveling, okay? When you start to live a travel lifestyle, you are going to experience something. This happens to every single one of my friends who have traveled for years. And when I say travel, I mean going to different places for years, okay? Everybody has something happen, whether it's having your wallet stolen or your phone stolen. No matter where you are in the world, you could be in Paris, you can be in Germany, you can be in Mexico. It doesn't matter. I had a friend of mine, she was from Paris. She got her phone stolen in Paris. She lived there for years, decades. My point is, things are going to happen. And if you look at your astrocartography chart, you can see where these things or these experiences that you're going to experience anyway are most likely to happen. So that if you go to those places, you kind of have a heads up, oh, okay, this place is along my Pluto line. So I'm going to go through a deep transformation. Now, it might be a happy transformation. It might be a transformation that's a little bit painful. But I know that if I travel to this location, I'm going to experience some sort of transformation that's going to help me elevate. Okay. So that's why I love astrocartography. That's why I made this episode. That's why I give you guys this intro class or this masterclass on knowing the basics of astrocartography so you can use this knowledge to your advantage. Okay. So that's going to be it for today's recap, or this week's recap episode. This week's recap episode. I love y'all so much, and I'll see y'all next week. Peace.